The Great Sphinx of Giza has iron rods still lodged in its back from 1837, when British colonel and Egyptologist Howard Vyse lit a fuse inside this ancient monument located on the Giza Plateau near Cairo, Egypt. He had spent 5 months drilling into the statue's back with iron boring rods, trying to prove it was hollow. At 27 feet deep, the rods broke. So Vyse did what Victorian military officers did when patience ran out. He packed the borehole with gunpowder and detonated it. The explosion failed. The rods stayed jammed. And as of 2026, those iron rods are still embedded in the limestone. The Sphinx is 73 meters long and 20 meters tall, carved from the bedrock of the Giza Plateau during the reign of Pharaoh Khafra around 2500 BC. For over 2 centuries, explorers, archaeologists, and geophysicists have drilled into it, climbed inside it, and aimed every scanning technology available at the rock beneath it. 3 tunnels have been confirmed inside the body. All 3 end in dead rock or groundwater. No chamber, no passage to a hidden hall. And yet, 3 independent geophysical teams, using 3 different technologies across 3 different decades, detected anomalies beneath and around the Sphinx that have never been verified by a single drill hole. The Japanese team that operated the equipment in 1987 was led by the same radar specialist, whose Tutankhamun scans we covered recently on this channel. And the reason nobody has been allowed to drill on those anomalies for over 40 years has less to do with science and more to do with the American psychic Edgar Cayce, founder of the Association for Research and Enlightenment, who died in 1945. We are going to walk through every documented intrusion into this statue, every scan, every sealed passage. And by the end, the real question will not be what is under the Sphinx. It will be who controls the answer. The first modern person to touch the Sphinx below the neck was Italian sea captain and explorer Giovanni Battista Caviglia. In December 1817, working for the British Consul General Henry Salt, Caviglia led 160 Egyptian laborers into the sand surrounding the head. He was the first European in roughly 1,700 years to see the Sphinx's chest. Between the outstretched paws, he uncovered the dream stela of Thutmose IV, a granite slab erected around 1401 BC, describing how a young prince fell asleep in the statue's shadow and received the throne in a dream. The stela says nothing about tunnels, nothing about hidden chambers. Caviglia dug trenches along the northern shoulder, looking for a door. He found none. His conclusion, reported in the London Quarterly Review of 1818, was straightforward. The Sphinx was solid. 20 years later, Vyse arrived with less patience and more explosives. His engineer John Shea Paring began drilling into the upper back on February 23, 1837. By May 26th, the boring rod snapped at a depth of 8.2 meters. The July gunpowder attempt failed to free them. Vyse wrote in his diary that he abandoned the excavation because he was unwilling to disfigure this venerable monument. The hole he left behind, known today as Paring's Hole, was finally cleared in 1978 by Egyptian archaeologist Zahi Hawass, who recovered a broken fragment of the Sphinx's limestone Nemes headdress from the rubble. It was not a tunnel, it was a scar. The third confirmed cavity is a natural crack running north to south across the Sphinx's waist. In 1853, the French archaeologist Auguste Mariette climbed inside and descended roughly 4 to 5 meters into a small irregular space in the bedrock. He found fragments of burnt wood that smelled of resin, which he interpreted as possible coffin remains. In 1926, the Antiquities Service engineer Emile Barais sealed this fissure with iron bars and cement during the largest Sphinx excavation in modern history, a project that ran from 1925 to 1936 and fully exposed the body for the first time since antiquity. Vyse also found something else. At floor level on the north side of the Sphinx's rump, beneath the masonry veneer, he discovered a round opening leading into a passage that descended into the bedrock. He documented it, sealed it behind new stonework, and moved on without publishing. That passage would stay hidden for 54 years. What matters about these 3 cavities is what they tell us about the stone itself. The Sphinx is not carved from uniform rock. Geologist Cayce of the University of Louisville established a 3-layer stratigraphy that every subsequent debate depends on. The bottom layer, member I, is a hard ancient reef, dense and resistant. The middle layer, member II, consists of 6 softer marly beds that form the main lion body. This is where weathering is most severe and where most geophysical anomalies appear. The top layer, member III, is the durable limestone of the neck and head, which is why the face has survived while the body crumbles. When a radar or seismic team reports a low-velocity zone inside member II, the question is always whether that signal represents a real void or simply a pocket of heavily weathered soft rock. That distinction is the scientific heart of every argument we are about to cover. What Vyse sealed in 1926 became the most important rediscovery in the Sphinx's modern history. And it happened because of one old man's memory. But before we get to that moment, we need to understand the decade when the scanning began, because it was funded by the last people anyone expected. In 1977, the Stanford Research Institute sent a team to Giza led by geophysicist Lambert Dolphin. They carried resistivity meters with 1-foot electrode spacing, high-frequency acoustic equipment, and magnetometers. Their mission was to find hidden chambers beneath the Sphinx. Their primary funder was the Edgar Cayce Foundation, the Association for Research and Enlightenment, named for the Virginia psychic who had declared in trance readings during the 1930s that Atlantean refugees had buried a hall of records near the right paw of the Sphinx to be discovered before the end of the 20th century. The SRY team identified several strong anomalies beneath the Sphinx platform and the Sphinx temple floor. With written permission from the Giza Inspectorate, they drilled 5 4-inch test holes directly on the largest signals. Each hole was inspected with a downhole television camera. Lambert Dolphin's own published retrospective states the result plainly. In each case, the anomalies on borehole television were seen to be only minor natural cracks in the bedrock. A young American named Mark Lehner was on that team. He was a Cayce Foundation grantee, finishing his undergraduate degree at the American University of Cairo. His first book had been published by the Cayce Foundation's own press. He arrived at Giza believing the Hall of Records was real. He watched the cameras go down 5 separate holes. He watched 5 separate times as the anomalies resolved into natural fractures. Years later, in a Smithsonian magazine interview, Lehner explained what changed his mind. He said there were thousands of tombs of real people, statues of real people with real names, and none of them figured in the Cayce stories. That was the turning point. Lehner went on to complete his PhD at Yale, became the world's leading Sphinx researcher, and co-directed the 1979 to 1983 ARCE mapping project that produced the first accurate 1:50 master plan of the statue. The man the Cayce Foundation had trained to find their prophecy became the foremost scientist arguing that there was nothing to find. 10 years after the SRY campaign, a team from Waseda University in Tokyo arrived at Giza. The Waseda Pyramid Investigation Mission, led by Egyptologist Sakuji Yoshimura, with engineers Takeshi Nakagawa, Shoji Tonuchi, and Kazuaki Seki, ran electromagnetic waves sounding along a grid of 7 east to west and 4 north to south lines, covering approximately 70 by 10 meters around the Sphinx. Their field operator was a radar specialist named Hirokatsu Watanabe. If you watched our recent video on the sealed wall inside Tutankhamun's tomb, that name should stop you. Watanabe is the same man who in 2015 scanned the walls of KV-62 with custom GPR equipment and claimed to detect voids containing metallic and organic material behind the north wall. Those claims were rejected by two independent follow-up teams, including Franco Porcelli's group from the Politecnico di Torino. The resulting public confrontation between former ministers Hawass and El Damati at the Second Tutankhamun Grand Egyptian Museum Conference in May 2016 effectively ended GPR-led chamber announcements in Egyptian archaeology. But in 1987, none of that had happened yet. Watanabe's Sphinx readings, published in Studies in Egyptian Culture, number 6 by Waseda University Press, reported a geometrical cavity near the northern front elbow, measuring 1 meter by 1.5 meters by 7 meters, possibly containing metal or granite. A second anomaly between the paws measured 1.5 meters by 3 meters, with an unclear bottom, extending toward the chest. The Waseda team never drilled to verify. Hawass refused subsequent drilling permits. Those readings remain geophysical signals on paper, not confirmed chambers. If you are finding value in this investigation, consider subscribing and leaving a like. It helps this channel continue producing research-driven content on discoveries that deserve more than speculation. 4 years after the Waseda survey, in April 1991, Boston University geologist Robert Schoch and Houston geophysicist Thomas Dobecki ran 19 seismic refraction profiles and 2 reflection profiles around the Sphinx. Their published paper in Geoarchaeology, Volume 7, Number 6, 1992, reported 2 major findings. First, the bedrock beneath the enclosure floor was weathered to a depth of 1.8 to 2.5 meters on 3 sides of the Sphinx, but only 1.2 meters on the western back wall. Schoch argued this meant the front had been exposed to rainfall erosion longer than the back, implying the Sphinx was carved thousands of years before Khafra, what became known as the controversial Sphinx water erosion hypothesis. Second, they detected a low-velocity zone beneath the left paw consistent with a cavity, plus a possible tunnel-like feature running the length of the body. They did not drill. The widely cited claim that this cavity measures 9 by 12 meters at 25 feet depth does not appear in the 1992 paper itself. Those dimensions are traceable to Graham Hancock and Robert Bauval's 1996 book, which conflated the Dobecki and Schoch seismic data with a separate 1996 GPR campaign. The actual peer-reviewed numbers describe a low-velocity zone without specific chamber dimensions. Lehner's published rebuttal in KMT Journal Volume 5, Number 3 in 1994, identified an internal contradiction in Schoch's own data. The back wall line, labeled S3, showed seismic velocities for both the weathered and sound limestone layers that were 23 to 28% lower than the corresponding layers on the flanks. By Schoch's own interpretive rule that lower velocity equals greater weathering, the back wall ought to be the most weathered of all, which is the opposite of what Schoch claimed. Lehner argued with geological collaborator K. Lal Gauri that the velocity difference reflected a change in limestone composition between the harder nummulitic reef at the base and the softer marley beds above, not a difference in age. Additional research by Kuper and Kröpelin, published in Science in 2006, demonstrated that heavy rainfall episodes continued into the Old Kingdom period around 2200 BC, meaning rain-cut erosion features on the Sphinx enclosure walls do not require a pre-dynastic origin. The rain was there. The date was not. Now we return to the passage Vyse sealed in 1926. In 1980, Mark Lehner and Zahi Hawass were approached by 3 elderly Egyptian men who had worked for Vyse as basket-carrying boys more than half a century earlier. One of them, Mohammed Abd al-Mawgud Fayed, walked the two archaeologists directly to the exact stone Vyse had used to plug the entrance. They reopened it. The passage descends about 5 meters to the water table and makes a 90-degree turn into a niche 1 meter wide by 1.8 meters tall. They found pottery shards, charcoal, chips of alabaster, and red granite. They also found a piece of tin foil, fragments of a modern glass jug, and 2 old but modern leather shoes. Their conclusion, published in 1994 in Hommages à Jean Leclant by the Institut Français d'Archéologie Orientale in Cairo, was that the upper portion was likely an unfinished tomb shaft of late period date, possibly a Greco-Roman era treasure hunt into the Sphinx's body. The lower portion had clearly been accessed in modern times. It led nowhere. Roughly 25 meters beneath the Khafre Causeway, midway between the Sphinx and the second pyramid, lies a structure that comes closer to a hall of records than anything the Cayce Foundation ever imagined. And it is entirely real. The Osiris shaft descends in 3 stages to a total depth of approximately 30 meters. The first vertical drop falls about 9 meters into a small rectangular chamber. A second shaft plunges another 14 meters into a hall, surrounded by 7 side niches, each of which originally held a sarcophagus. Some were still in position when Hawass reached them. The third and final descent drops another 9 meters into the flooded chamber at the bottom. The Egyptian archaeologist Selim Hassan documented the upper levels during his 1933 to 1934 excavation season, but could not pump out the groundwater flooding the lowest chamber. Hawass completed the pumping in 1999, after years of continuous mechanical extraction. At the bottom, his team found a large chamber with a central island, 4 square pillar bases, water-filled channels cut into the bedrock floor, and a granite sarcophagus weighing between 10 and 15 tons, partially submerged in the water table. The earliest pottery recovered dates to the 6th dynasty, around 2350 BC. The sarcophagus itself is stylistically 26th dynasty, roughly 600 BC, indicating reuse during the Saite period Renaissance at Giza. A tunnel cut into the western wall of the lowest chamber extends 6 meters and dead ends. A workman lowered on a rope confirmed there was nothing beyond. Hawass identified the complex as a symbolic cenotaph for Osiris, noting that Giza's ancient Egyptian name was Pir Abusir Nbr Sta, meaning the House of Osiris, Lord of the Underground Passages. The architectural layout of the lowest chamber resembles the hieroglyph PR, meaning house. Despite claims in popular books, no documented passage connects the Osiris shaft to any cavity inside the Sphinx. It is its own structure, its own mystery, and the closest thing to a subterranean archive anyone has actually excavated on the Giza Plateau. The reason nobody has drilled beneath the Sphinx since 1978 is not a scientific decision. It is a political one, and its roots trace back to Edgar Cayce's Virginia Beach prophecies. The Cayce Foundation funded or co-funded the 1973 to 1974 SRI reconnaissance, the 1977 to 1978 SR-Wine drilling campaign, Lehner's undergraduate education, and the 1996 Shore Foundation GPR survey. Every credible geophysical anomaly detected under the Sphinx has been immediately amplified by the Cayce network into a Hall of Records confirmation. The reaction by Egyptian authorities, particularly after the 1998 prophecy deadline passed without discovery, was to shut down independent subsurface access. When Watanabe's 2015 Tutankhamun GPR claims collapsed under independent verification by Dean Goodman, his GPR slice team, and Franco Porcelli's team from Politecnico di Torino, the institutional distrust of radar-led discovery announcements became permanent. GPR specialist Lawrence Conyers of the University of Denver, author of the standard textbook Ground Penetrating Radar for Archaeology, told National Geographic in May 2016 that every colleague he spoke with had the same reaction. There was nothing there at all. Today, the Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, which absorbed the Supreme Council of Antiquities in 2019, controls all permits at the Sphinx. The current Secretary General, Mostafa Waziri, slow walks any subsurface proposal. The only post-2015 GPR work near the Sphinx was conducted by Ancient Egypt Research Associates, AERA, under Lehner and survey specialist Glenn Dash, with GPR analyst Dean Goodman. Their 2018 to 2019 Return to the Sphinx viewing project published preliminary results in Aerogram Volume 25 in 2024, under the deliberately restrained title, Where the Water Disappears. Not where the chamber hides. Not what Egypt does not want you to see. Where the water disappears. That title tells you everything about the post-Cayce climate of Sphinx research. Meanwhile, Sato and Yoshimura, working with the Japanese National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics, published a peer-reviewed GPR and electrical resistivity tomography survey of the Western Cemetery at Giza in Archaeological Prospection, Volume 31, Number 2, May 2024. They detected an L-shaped anomaly and a deeper resistive structure 5 to 10 meters below the surface. The technology exists. The methods work. They simply have not been applied beneath the Sphinx itself. The Great Sphinx has endured Caviglia's trenches, Vyse's gunpowder, Mariette's ropes, Bareiza's concrete, Dolphin's drill bits, Watanabe's radar, and Schoch's seismographs. It has been probed by every generation and answered none of them. The iron boring rods from 1837 are still lodged in its back. The 1987 anomaly near the front elbow has never been drilled. The 1991 cavity beneath the left paw has never been confirmed, and every year the water table rises a little higher beneath the Osiris shaft, dissolving another fraction of whatever the 6th dynasty builders left behind. We have the technology to settle the question. Multi-channel array, GPR, electrical resistivity tomography, seismic refraction tomography. The instruments are ready. The proposals have been written. The permits have not been granted. The Sphinx does not keep secrets. The Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities does.